Instead of talking about things you should be investing your money into, let's talk about things you should stop spending your money on. You're probably spending money on one of these items or maybe a variety of these items. And look, I've been guilty too, and I've been able to come up with this list right here just because I know what it's like to look at your statement at the end of the month and think to yourself, wait, I spent how much on that? So I wanted to make this video to kind of bring some awareness on different areas that you can start cutting back at, and so that you can then reinvest that money into other areas in your life. Because look, there's nothing worse than having more month than money, and there's nothing worse than looking back with another year being over with you possibly getting paid the same, not having acquired any new investments or not having acquired any new skill sets, all because you were spending your money recklessly. Now, this isn't to shame anyone into the way that they spend their money, but obviously if you're on this channel right here, then you're possibly looking to either improve a skill set, you're looking to improve your entrepreneurship, or you're looking to improve your financial status and your financial goals. So first things first, one thing that I noticed that I had to start kind of cutting back on was at the grocery store, specifically with brand items. I started noticing that the brand items tasted the exact same as some of the store featured items. So if you, let's say, go to Walmart, or if you shop in Aldi's, or if maybe there's an Albertsons, if those are still around, they're not around here in Central Florida anymore, or if you know of Publix, then you know that they all carry their own type of brand, right? They carry their, let's say, value brand. I believe with Publix is Greenwise, or I think it's even called Publix. And then you have the store, or you have the actual company brand. So you have Coca-Cola, but instead of Coca-Cola, it's Cola. You have Oreos, but instead of Oreos, it's like chocolate-filled cookies, right? They always come up with some of these wacky names, or panda cookies, because they're black wafers with the white cream filling. You can tell I like Oreos, right? But when it comes to us purchasing some of these items, we start to really think, okay, look, I can save an additional, let's say, $3 to $5 per item by the end of, let's say, your weekly shopping expense, or by the end of your monthly shopping expense. You can save an additional $150 to $200. Now, $150 to $200 may not sound like a lot of money to some people, but to others, that's an extra, let's say, bill that they can throw that money toward, or that's a utility that they can pay off, or that's an extra dollar amount that they can throw into an index fund, or that's an extra dollar amount that they can throw into their savings for the kids' tuition. Whatever that is, that's $150. So that's one of the first items that I really wanted to bring on here, just because I think it's one that we can all get better at, regardless of where you're at in your financial future or in your financial status. Now, number two is one that I think scares a lot of people from using or getting credit cards altogether. And it's one that really leads people down the rabbit hole and down the path of, I'm never going to get credit cards because of this. And that's going to be, you're spending too much money on interest rates. So let's say that $500 TV set is actually costing me $700, right? So you're giving away $250, and I believe that the average person that has a credit card spends right around $800 to $850 a year on interest alone for their credit cards. Now, that number right there is, you can do so much with $800, whether that's investing it or whether that's throwing it toward a down payment of a house. So one thing that I always tell people is that I haven't paid interest on my credit cards in well over 3 years, especially since I started to figure out, why am I not just using my credit cards like a debit card? Because it's one of those things where it takes financial discipline of knowing, okay, if you are indeed using your credit cards to pay off your bills, to make these everyday purchases, because you're pretty much going to get paid to shop, especially if you have a credit card with a 2% or 3% cash back. You're pretty much getting paid to shop, and you're pretty much going to get free travel for the same expenses that you were going to be swiping your debit card with anyways. So I started to realize, okay, why don't I just put my debit card away, connect my bank account to my credit card, so that way it auto drives, and that way I'm not double spending. Because one of the biggest issues that people come across when they're paying interest is you're using your debit card for pretty much the same things you would use your credit cards for. So let's say you spend $1,000 here, which is what your bills were, but then you spend $1,000 here on your credit cards for things on top of your bills. So now you're lump sided a couple $100. So now you run into the case of, I can't make my credit card payments this month in full, so let me go ahead and just send them the bare minimum. But again, the issue with that is you end up paying an excess. in the interest that you're charged. That's why I don't necessarily worry about the interest that's charged, because I never get charged interest. Again, you want to make sure that you are responsible with this method, and that you're paying off your credit card in full every single month, and that you're never carrying a balance, because this is ultimately going to help you build your credit score on the back end, make you seem more responsible to banks, meaning they want to lend you more money, help you raise your credit limit, and you're going to get all the free perks and benefits on the back end. So it really does become just a tailwind of a win-win. Number 3 may surprise you, and this is going to be books. Yes, I said it. People spend too much money on books and courses. I believe that the statistic is right around 93% of people that buy courses never end up finishing it to begin with. So they'll start the first 2 chapters, they'll start the first 2 modules, and they just never finish it. And it blows my mind, because we even see this with books, with the average American only reading right around 1 to 2 books a year. And that actually ends up being a nonfiction book. But in my opinion, it gets even worse than that, because I'll go to someone's house, or let's say if you're visiting someone's house, or even sometimes ourselves, where you'll have a bookshelf that you ask someone, oh wow, those are nice books. What's your favorite book on there? Or how many of those have you actually read? More often than not, a lot of them will tell you, I haven't read all of them. I just got them and I kind of picked them up, and I would kind of store them away, and I would never go back to them. Again, I'm using myself as an example for all of these. I've been there where I have books in my bookshelf right now that I've never read. And so if somebody were to come in right now, I can tell you pretty much a good portion of them I've read, but some of them I'm like, I don't even know how that got there. I'm not sure if it was a gift. I'm not sure if I bought that one. I'm not sure if maybe it was a spur of the moment. I was at Barnes & Noble and I was researching something, but I never actually got to that book, or I never finished it. Let alone I never finished it altogether. So what does this mean for you? You could be spending more than what you bargained for with books or textbooks that you shouldn't be holding on to, because again, it's costing you money. So you can consider taking a look at a couple things, like instead of buying the books new, you can buy the books used. Instead of buying the books altogether to kind of store it, you can also maybe take a look at something like an Amazon Audible if you wanted to have a book read to you. That way you can kind of swap the books out and just use the credits. It comes out being way cheaper for you on the back end. If you wanted to go ahead and use a free month to try it out to see how it works for you, you can go ahead and do so. I have a link down in the description where you can enjoy a free month as well as a free book of Amazon's Audible. Again, if that jives with you, you can continue on with the subscription with Amazon's Audible, which is what I used to pair all of my books with. But if you didn't want it, let's say if you didn't want your book read to you, if you didn't want that listening experience, you can always go to a public library where, let's say you have a week or 2 with the book, and you can take it back, and that method is completely free. Now this one right here is one that I tapped into, and I don't think I've ever looked back, and that's television. When it comes to channels and when it comes to TVs, I would say that one of the, I don't want to use the word scam, but I say one of the biggest tricks, right? One of the biggest tricks that these TV companies use is they like to bundle everything, where if you can't get certain channels, they'll leave out that one channel that you really want, and then you have to upgrade like an additional 30 or 40 bucks just to get the next package. But really what you want is that one channel. Or let's say they'll bundle it with a slow internet, so you somewhat get the channels that you want, but then your internet is super slow, and then you have to upgrade the internet. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So one thing that I started noticing is that what if I just stream some of the, again, legally stream some of these channels that I actually want to view right off of the app? You may want to take a look at that. Sometimes it's free of charge to you, rather than having to upgrade to 700 channels. Make a list. Okay, these are the only 4 channels that I use. Let me call my cable company right now, because it's not just costing me 30 minutes to watch this show. It's not just costing me an additional $100 a month for this. It's also costing me $100 in opportunity costs on the back end that I could be spending either networking, that I could be spending maybe sharpening up my resume, maybe sharpening up my skills, possibly learning a new maybe trading style that I can use for the stock market, or maybe looking at rental properties and evaluating what that looks like for me, or maybe taking a look at homes that I want to purchase to add to my portfolio. Take a look at that, because it's not just 30 minutes. When you're watching Netflix, it's not just an hour of the show. It's an hour of your time that you could be reinvesting into yourself. And last but not least, and this one is a sneaky one, and this is going to be in-app purchases. In-app purchases, when you're playing a game, or if maybe there is kind of like a time killer that you're using whenever you're waiting at the doctor's office, or if you're waiting at the airport, you have these in-app purchases where you'll get the free version of an app that you really like, and it's kind of like giving you that first hit, and then when you fall in love with the app, or pretty much you become addicted, where that's all you do every time you pick up your phone, like you don't even check your text messages, you end up playing this game just to kind of kill some time or avoid having to talk to people. You have this in-app purchase that your credit card's connected to it, especially if you have an iPhone, and I know that you can do it with Google Play as well. And then what ends up happening is when you want to upgrade, you've pretty much been so invested with this app that you can't help but to get the next upgrade. You can't help but to get the next purchase or unlock the next level. And those little in-app purchases start to add up. You know, $7 here, $8 there, $5 there. You look, at the end of the month, that's an additional 60, 70 bucks. Again, may not sound like a lot of money, but that 60, 70 bucks is something that you could be looking at right now. At the end of the year, when you actually start putting pen to paper, that's an additional 600 bucks. That's an additional $1,000. Again, that's going toward the down payment of your home. That's going towards your kids' education. That's going toward your personal education. That's going toward possibly funding a business idea that you have. So try to find all the different leaks apart from what I mentioned in this video that you can start to kind of cover up. That way you don't feel like you're on a sinking ship. So there you have it. If you found value in this content and you enjoyed this video, this episode, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Join the official community. Don't forget that anytime I'm not posting on here, I'm posting over on the Insight with Irv show, which is my podcast style channel. So if you like what we have going on over here, you'll love what we have going on over there. Once again, I appreciate you guys checking me out. Till next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video.